I really wish you hadn't been this predictable. Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about a movie that I was really looking forward to seeing because the trailers were all over just about everything I had gone to. But here's the thing, it's crazy. As much as I saw that trailer, it barely opened up in any theaters around here, so I had to travel to go see it. Today we are going to be talking about The Protege, starring Michael Keaton, Maggie Q, Samuel Jackson, and Robert Patrick. I will warn you, I'm going to spoil part of the third act. I won't spoil everything, but I do have to talk about the third act and where the predictability comment came from. But I will say this. Is this a must go see in theaters? Probably not. I did enjoy this movie despite its predictability. That being said, it's for the most part a typical revenge flick. And I've seen better ones. This is still a very entertaining movie, despite its predictability, but I would say you could probably wait for VOD for this one. What this movie is about is it shows 30 years ago in Vietnam. Samuel Jackson, who plays Moody, he is an assassin. He is going on a job, but when he walks in, all the people are dead already. He sees a big pile of money, so he takes the money. But then he finds a little girl who has a gun. He ends up talking her down, and he takes her with him. And we do find out some more what happened in the past throughout the movie. But the movie jumps to 30 years later, and Samuel Jackson's Moody is working with Maggie Q's Anna, who of course was the little girl, and they're doing jobs together. He kind of trained her, Leon the Professional style. And so they pull a job though, and while they're setting up for the next job, Anna, who runs a rare bookstore, it's kind of funny. The second movie about assassins that I've seen this year that involves bookstore, the other being Gunpowder Milkshake. This one, I wouldn't say this movie takes itself way more seriously than that movie, but it does. This one's a little more serious than Gunpowder Milkshake was. Michael Keaton's Rembrandt visits Maggie Q's character at her bookshop, which of course is her front for being an assassin, and you can already tell that they have a bit of a rapport. But we come to find out that Rembrandt was scoping out the place because people that Anna works with start ending up dead, including Moody, Samuel Jackson's character. So comes to find out that she ends up having to go back to Vietnam, a place she does not want to go to because, let's just say, the reason she was being held at the house where the people ended up dead 30 years ago, not a place she'd want to revisit. The way she was treated there, we'll just say, was the reason she doesn't want to go back there. But she ends up having to go back because that's where the clues to finding out who is after her and who killed Moody, that's where all the clues lead. Okay, first and foremost, when it comes to the action, it's brutal, it's violent and bloody, and it's great. It's definitely a big time selling point for the feel of this movie. I mean, the way just everything just feels nasty, and it works very well. It sets the tone for this movie. When it comes to the characters, I liked all the main actors. You could say there's four main actors in this: Michael Keaton's character, Maggie Q's character, Samuel Jackson's character, and Robert Patrick's character. When it comes to chemistry, Michael Keaton and Maggie Q have a really good chemistry. I wish we could have gotten more of it. You've seen one of the fight scenes in the trailer. Where that fight scene leads is actually pretty funny. But just the way they banter back and forth, you can tell they're in some ways two peas from the same pod, and it's like instant attraction between the two. And I really, in some ways, I can't say that because it's spoil the ending. I really don't want to spoil the very ending. I will say this though, I would like to see another movie with these characters. I'll just leave it at that. Maggie Q's chemistry with Samuel L. Jackson's very good, even though he's not in this very much. Again, he ends up dying, so that's kind of the catalyst for her going back to Vietnam. But when they are together, they do work well together. And then also you have Robert Patrick's character, who he plays this biker in Vietnam who has this biker gang. And I love seeing him. You don't get to see him very much anymore. And I like seeing him in this. And I really liked his character because he's just, you can tell that he and Moody have a past of helping each other. And of course, he's going to do anything he can to help Anna. That being said, there are a few times in this movie it's like, she probably could have used an armed biker gang right now. Even though there is one scene where she definitely uses them to her advantage. But it would have been nice to see a little more of him. But of course, the story is revolved around Anna and her getting her revenge and stopping these people from coming after her as well. So that's really the main focus. When it comes to the story, for the most part, it is a typical revenge flick. There is some twists and turns that I can't really give away because it would give away big parts of the plot. But they work fine. But really, you're coming for the revenge story. And while there are better revenge stories out there, you do really like Maggie Q in this, and you like her attitude, and she's, they even make a comment about it's like she's gonna, lick her wounds and come back after us. It's like she's definitely never really at an advantage in this, for the most part. I mean, yeah, again, there's the biker scene part where it's like, yeah, she definitely has the advantage, but most of the time when she's on her own, she's always against the odds. There's a scene, or a few scenes in this, where they're interrogating her, and man, they bust her up pretty good, and there's some scenes that are just hard to watch, but you just know that eventually she's there. You just know eventually those that are doing this to her are gonna get theirs. Okay, so here's where we're gonna get into spoiler territory. I need to talk about part of the third act. So again, if you don't want anything spoiled, this is where you need to tune out. And again, I will say this isn't a rush to the theater to go see, but it is an entertaining enough revenge flick that when it comes out on VOD, which I'm sure will be pretty soon because the window is getting shorter and shorter, it's a decent revenge flick to rent. Okay, so this movie was really predictable because when you give a character a characteristic that you all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not going to come into play, you kind of know that it is going to come into play. And here again, I'm spoiling this here. When we meet, when we jump ahead to the 30 years, when we finally get to Moody again, we notice that he has a really bad cough, and they do comment that he's, he needs to go to the doctor and all that. So he's instantly sick. His character is sick, probably dying, right? It's not just him coughing. There's a purpose. But then he gets killed. And I'm like, okay, if they threw us off there by, giving him this cough, but then all of a sudden he's dead and it don't matter anyway, that would have been a nice red herring, right? But I just knew he was going to come back. I'm like, okay, somehow he's not dead. And they do show how he's not dead because, yes, he's still alive. But then again, that's where the movie even gets more predictable. It's like, well, you've got a character that's really sick, but he's still alive now, but he's really sick. Chances are he is going to sacrifice himself in some way to stop the bad guys. And sure enough, without spoiling it, that's what this movie does, is he's going to do it. And that just kind of throws off part of the third act because that Maggie Q is the distraction where Moody is, the one that's going to do, the big hit. So that hurt it a little bit for me. I would have liked some twists and turns. Again, if they would have given that cough, it's like, oh, he's going to die, and then all of a sudden he's just killed and it don't matter. I'd have been okay with that. But no, I knew he was coming back and he did. And while I'm fine with it, I liked the story they were telling. It just made it way more predictable, and I didn't really like that. So the Protege, as I said, probably a better rental than at the theater. The character interactions, the chemistry, again, is really good between the four main actors. The story itself, the twists and turns, are pretty good. Uh, and the action is definitely worth the price of admission. The brutality of the action is really good. So again, I don't recommend running to the theaters to see it, but is it a good rental? Yeah, of course it is. That's it. See you later.